So what did you, so you were at our last shoot, the Valentine's Day shoot.
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
It was super fun. Yeah, I think one, location is so important, and the house was beautiful, the inside and out. So there were so many great spots to get pictures. And then two, I just really like efficiency. So I love that I can show up to a group shoot and I get to work with like half a dozen different photographers, network, meet other models, and yeah, see what everybody's different style is. And yeah, that's what I like about it.
That house was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Danny. Thank you for using that. Um, yeah, he said he designed that like a few years back.
Oh,
It's awesome.
nice.
Yeah, he and his wife did it. So hopefully we can shoot there again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of one of the exciting things about throwing a shoot for us is like we get to meet all the cool photographers that are in Austin,
Mm-hmm.
and then those photographers can bring out some big models that we wouldn't have otherwise gotten to shoot with, you know. So that's pretty cool. So
Do y'all pick the photographers first or the models, or it's just kind of all self-referential?
so we usually start with the photographers,
Mm-hmm.
and then just start sending invites out to models. The models are a lot harder to get, of course.
Why?
Um, just a lot more flaky, a lot more, you know,
Mm-hmm.
inconsistent, but it's not bad. We have had actually a lot of pretty good luck. So
There were a lot of models at the last couple I've been to. I was really impressed with the turnout.
yeah, so are we. It's been good. It's been really good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and surprisingly, it doesn't really we don't get a lot of questions about like, oh, which models are going to be here, which photographers are going to be here. It seems like it's more about the location
Mm-hmm.
and like probably the other stuff that's already on our pages and like the BTS and stuff we're posting so people can kind of get a sense of it, I think.
Yeah. So like y'all are at a point where the community trusts y'all. Like it's going to be good. There's going to be great photographers there. They're going to be solid models. And
I mean, I think so.
yeah.
What do you think? Like
Yeah.
if you get invited to a group shoot, let's say it's a very simple invite, like what do you look at?
Mm, I mean, I do appreciate when they share the photographer list. And if I don't recognize them, that's not a bad thing. There's plenty of people I don't know yet. So I'll kind of check them out and see if I like their work. But yeah, it's like location, location, location. Like, let me see the photos. Where is it? Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, I mean I think that's kind of what we found. Um, do you like, well, I mean, yeah, you said you like efficiency, so you kind of like to show up and just shoot and change and shoot, right?
Oh, yeah.
So like having a new photographer to shoot with, like kind of turn around is kind of nice.
It's good. I think it's incredible for networking because it's such a low pressure environment versus setting up a one on one shoot with someone you've never met or worked with before is a little bit of a gamble, like, is there going to be good chemistry working together? Am I going to like their style? Are they going to like how I work? So having that low pressure way of just like, hey, we're both here. Let's spend 15 minutes,
15
trying.
minutes while everyone else is there, see how it goes.
Yeah.
And then if it's awesome, do you like set it up, like reach out to them one-on-one if you want to do like more stuff, or how does that go?
I've definitely done one-on-ones with photographers after first meeting them at group shoots. It's a good way to do it. And I think, models are always thinking about safety too. It's just a reality of things. So to be like, I've met this person, other people in my network are vouching for them as a cool person. So I think that's really reassuring for a model because, as you can imagine, the DMs are full of totally random people being like, hey, let's shoot.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I want to talk about that in a second for sure.
yes.
So when you meet a photographer for the first time, how do you like judge whether or not you want to shoot with them again, basically? Is it like purely the end product? Is it like the interaction? How does that go?
It's both. Yeah. You have to like the photos, right? Unless it's a paid shoot and you're treating it as work, which is
Hmm.
another thing. But yeah, for the most part, you have to like the photos. Um, and but sometimes that's not even worth it if it was like, I don't know, awkward or unpleasant. Experiences like that are few and far between. But yeah, if someone's like not good to work with, then
Yeah, then
they
it
will
kind of doesn't
they
matter.
yeah, then they won't be booking again.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. So yeah, let's talk about the DMs.
Yeah.
I'm sure your DMs are probably maxed out at this point.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I need to buy more storage
buy
on
more storage.
Instagram.
Yeah, I think that's how that works. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you like? So let's start there. Like somebody DMs you, how do you? What makes you reach out to them and want to shoot with them? Like, do you even see most of the messages? Do you go through messages? Do you like look at their pages, or do you just kind of scan through it quickly and get a quick sense?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, some things go to a hidden folder automatically, which is
Yeah,
like, oh,
hidden
this,
requests, like
yeah,
yeah.
this is like you've been flagged for something.
Mhm.
So you might be scamming. But other than
They might
that,
have good deals on like crypto though. You never know.
yeah,
Like NFTs.
yeah, something about, yeah,
You're probably
buy
losing a
my
lot of money.
crypto.
So
I
by
gotta,
not talking to
I
them.
gotta go now. I gotta go buy some crypto. Um, but yeah, I think if I get a request from a photographer I don't know saying like, "Hey, let's shoot," um, I would, yeah, check out their page. And what would fast track it is if other people I've worked with are following them. If I see photos of models I know on their page, I'll do like, we're out there reference checking. Like models will send each other messages like, hey, how is this person to work with, et cetera, et cetera. And I think it's just smart. Like models should be doing that. So reference checks, and then getting more detail. I feel like people don't want to commit a whole lot of like planning work when they first reach out, which is fair. But beyond that, you know, I would want to see like, here's a plan, here's the concept or thing I want to shoot. Are you interested in this or that? And not just like, want to shoot.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So if you're at least a little bit interested, Photog goes out to the group chat. You run them through the CSI friends,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, and if they approve, then
Mm-hmm.
it's like, what do you actually want to shoot, basically?
Yes. Yeah, I think some sort of plan is key. That way you can kind of vet too if you're going to be a good match for what they want to work on.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Like, so you want to see like Pinterest mood board, something, at least some inspirational pics.
Yeah, that really helps. Yeah, if they have a location in mind, if they have some example shots of like, here's what I'm going for, here's what I want to get, that's really helpful. I think it's like anything in life, like planning is key for a successful shoot. So, and I also want to know, yeah, I want to know that they really care about the end product. That's a
Yeah,
green flag, and they're not just like just showing up to do it or something like that. So, yeah, I think both parties have a lot to do, but if a photographer is kind of like, models at this point are not just models, but they're stylists, they're hair and makeup artists, they're marketing, they're doing all these things. So, you know, it would be hard to ask like, oh, can you conceptualize the whole thing and find a location and et
yeah,
cetera,
yeah,
et cetera.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah. Do your hair, do your outfit, do the inspiration, all that stuff.
it's
Yeah,
like,
just supply it all for me.
yeah, take the picture.
I mean, we are the photographers, so you know. Okay, yeah, that's good. So what like what are some of like the worst DMs you can think of?
Um,
And we will give out names and locations and won't be edited out. So
Yeah.
you can just,
Yeah.
blow
Their
them up.
handle is.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm lucky in that I don't get any that are, I can't say any. I don't get a lot that are like horribly offensive or super creepy. Like I said, the most uninspiring ones are like kind of a 2-word, like shoot sometime. Like shoot what? What time? Like who are you?
Maybe they
Also-
want to go
also-
hunting. I don't know. You know?
Yeah. But I think there's a few like do's and don'ts that they are what they are. Like you can't like comment on the model's appearance too much when you're reaching out in a way. Like you can say like, I like your work, I like your look. But if they're like getting really into like, oh, you're so beautiful. Oh my gosh, I really like this one. It's just kind of like, oh, okay.
Past photographer kind of stuff.
Yeah, which like is or isn't fair because like to be very honest, they're not reaching out to photograph me because they think I'm unattractive. So, but there's these unwritten rules that you can't like come in hot with like something that feels like a personal come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah. Cool. So how long have you been shooting for?
So my very first modeling I was probably like 18 or 19, and I started with stock photography,
Really?
which is the most boring type of modeling and photography maybe that there is. Besides like catalogs, I don't know. But
I mean, stock, you get your stuff out there, I guess. You're on Google everywhere.
yes, so like somewhere out there's like an HR website or something where I'm just like in a button down looking like mildly pleasant at a camera. But yeah, so started with a little bit of that in commercial photography. And then didn't do a whole lot. I feel like my modeling hustle as it is now kind of started around 2020. Before that, I was performing a lot as a pole dancer, as a burlesque dancer, and like when the pandemic hit, like live shows just like really hit a wall.
Disappeared.
Yeah. So since I couldn't have that kind of creative outlet in live performances, I quickly found that one-on-one photo shoots were way more accessible at that time. Something you can do with 2 people or a small group of people, inside, outside, whatever. But and then everybody just seemed like that much more online starting around 2020. So that was just it's like, well, I have free time. I want to like create cool stuff, and here's a way to do that. So yeah, since about then I've been
Nice,
modeling.
nice. And by the way, I forgot to mention this beforehand, but the cool part about like not recording live is we can like take breaks and do whatever.
Oh,
and you
okay.
can friggin' drink. Like don't
Okay, cool.
we don't have to be like news time,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So
Cut whenever I'm like, and
yeah. Same. CapCut, I don't know if you've heard of CapCut the editor, but they have like AI like editing things, so it'll take out like
Ooh, gaps and stuff.
gaps,
just gone.
all that stuff. So it deletes like 90% of my stuff, but it's like it's helpful.
Your audio's ready. It's 1 minute.
Exactly. Yeah, your 1 hour podcast has been reduced to 10 minutes. Thanks. So,
Perfect 10.
It's fine. Whatever. Thanks, CapCut. So okay, so you got into stock photography a few years ago, and you've graced the HR websites across the world. How did you get into the pole dancing?
Yeah. So this is the very honest answer. Sometimes based on setting, I might just be like, oh, a fun way to work out. But I was right out of college, folding t-shirts at American Apparel for a living, trying to afford my rent, and just thought I might have to go dance at a club for a living. And like have to is strong. I'm very privileged to have a good support system, but I'm also a very independent person. So I wanted to be able to like support myself. So I was kind of like, well, I might do that. I'm going to need to learn a few pole moves. So I took a few classes, got into pole dancing. Circumstances changed and I never ended up working as a stripper. I hadn't had that experience. But I did love pole dancing. So I continued to do that. And yeah, it's an excellent workout, obviously. It's super fun. The community is really, really strong. People talk about things like CrossFit or what have you, of it being like cult-like. Pole dancing is cult-like.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. People,
There's a whole in crowd and just everyone's kind of crazy about it kind of thing?
yes. Yeah. Like people get hooked on it and it feels, at least to me, way more intense than like, going to the gym and like getting on the treadmill. There's not like that community to it that we have at really any studio. I've been to a lot of studios in town, maybe all of them. But I like it. They're not, it's not super cliquey. And I feel like they all share a lot of values. Like SoFly, where I teach in particular too, I feel like it's so accepting. It's really diverse and open to anybody who wants to be there, regardless of where you came from, where you're going next. Like it's super welcoming, very, very pro sex work. I feel like it's super important for pole hobbyists to acknowledge that pole dancing came from strippers. It came from sex workers. So we like respect that and don't try to distance ourselves from it. I feel like the pole dancing world of 5-10 years ago was very much like, we're not strippers though. It's like, we're like gymnasts, we're athletes. And we do have gymnasts and athletes, but I think people are understanding more now that pole dancing is from strippers and there's nothing wrong with that.
So is there a lot of crossover between actual strippers and pole dancers, I guess? Like do they come to learn new moves and stuff and kind of vice versa?
Yeah, occasionally. It's good to have like a safe environment to like level up your tricks if you want to learn something a little crazier that you don't want to just like try by yourself and you need maybe some more instruction, a crash mat, a little safe environment to work on that. So it definitely happens that way. And then pole dancers, I've been a couple times with a group of my friends from class going to strip clubs just to have a good time, of course, but also like just support.
Just to watch,
strippers.
kind of have fun, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, there can, I can't say it's perfect and there's not some animosity from either direction. Maybe some people still feel like they can't tell their friends or family that they do pole dancing without being like, but I'm not a stripper. I promise.
Yeah, I promise. I swear.
Yeah. It's like, well, that's like not that cool of a thing to say.
Yeah.
And,
I swear, Mom, I'm not stripping.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Sorry, Mom. And there are some strippers who are like annoyed by pole dancers. They're like, oh, you're like commodifying and commercializing something that we do to survive. Or
wow. Capitalists.
Yeah. Or, they've had experiences where they feel like kind of put down or like maybe, society like supports it when, like a privileged woman is taking pole dancing classes to get fit, but yet they're kind of like maybe looked at a certain way for what they do. And it's the same metal pole. It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. Yeah. So you start pole dancing. How long was it before you became an instructor?
Quite a while. Yeah. I've only been instructing for maybe 2, 3 years, somewhere in there. And I've been pole dancing for closer to 10.
Oh,
So I
wow. Okay.
had a nice lengthy time to just be a student and absorb and learn from a lot of incredible instructors. But now that I'm a teacher, I get to see the other side of it, which is really neat, because you see people walk in and they're like a little nervous. They feel weird even just touching a stripper pole. And then to see them kind of like feel at ease, feel confident, feel strong. It's really hard. A lot of the moves take a lot of work to achieve. So to see people building that strength week by week, feeling more comfortable in their skin over time is really incredible. So it's a gift and it's motivating for me.
Yeah, yeah. So what are like somebody new comes in, what's like the first move that you teach them?
So as simple as it is, like just walking around the pole, there's an art to it.
Just like holding it and walking in a circle?
Yeah. So the walk, body rolls, body waves.
You're gonna have to explain this. I'll try to edit in some of your moves if I can find them, but
So if the pole's here,
okay.
I'm coming in and waving my body
Okay.
towards and away from it. You've seen a body roll.
Okay, now I know.
Yeah.
Now I know.
So, yeah, those are fundamental. And then just various spins. So, how to swing around the pole, get some rotations in with style.
Of course.
Yeah, those are the first things. And then a little later down the line, you can learn how to climb the pole and how to go upside down.
Yeah, yeah. And since I'm apparently a pole aficionado, I've noticed that there are some poles that are like don't spin and then some that do. Uh-huh. So do you usually teach on both of those, or what's the difference there?
This is like one of my favorite things about like people who just like are watching pole dancing from the outside. They're like, wait, is it spinning or are you spinning around it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it depends. A lot of poles will have both settings. So it kind of
Oh,
depends
so you can change
on,
it. Nice.
But yeah, so we call it static pole when it doesn't go anywhere, and then spinning pole when it rotates around itself. So, and then it's not motorized or anything. It's not like it's spinning and you grab onto it and it swings you around. You create all of that momentum with your own body. So they're both difficult in their own ways. For beginners, we tend to start with static pole just because it's a little easier to control. So that's what most people start with and then kind of get into spin later. Other studios might do it differently. People who start in clubs might do it differently too. I feel like spin is a little bit more common on that side of things. So it just depends. Spin pole, it might seem easier because you are kind of holding a pose for longer and it's spinning you around, but it takes a lot of stabilizing muscles and control and grip strength to stay on and not go flying off the
Because
pole.
you have to do the same thing, but now you're turning, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's also just the dizziness factor that takes getting used to. We have just like a big bowl of ginger candies at the studio for when people are nauseated from all the spinning.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Do you practice on one of those, like, you put your head down on a baseball bat and spin around it to get used to dizziness?
No, but yeah, maybe I should introduce that as
Yeah.
a drill for my class.
You're welcome. Ginger candies, really? That helps with like dizziness? Or just
Yeah.
maybe lets them focus on something else, basically?
Maybe both, but ginger is kind of known to be like a little stomach soothing, anti-nausea, anti-dizziness.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So, and you said they have, what did you call them? Crash mats. So
Yes.
if they do aerial stuff, then, you can not land it on like hardwood.
Yeah, there's specialized ones for poles that have like a 50 millimeter hole in the middle So you can have a crash mat about this thick. So if you fall right off the pole, it'll be an easier
Easy
experience.
landing. Yeah.
Yeah. Although we try, it really doesn't happen that often. We are pretty big on teaching things at the right time. Like, as long as you're not jumping into a trick that you're not ready for, if you're doing it with proper instruction, maybe a human spotting you is even better than a crash mat. There's a lot of ways you can kind of bail out of a move before you actually fall.
Yeah.
But it happens. It
Yeah.
happens, and you have to be ready.
And I suppose how to bail correctly is like something you teach as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something that people probably don't practice enough, like how to fall. But I think one of the key things is to always talk about the exit from a move. Students will watch pretty attentively, like, how do I get into that trick or that pose? And then they're like, okay, let's go for it. But you need to know how to exit properly. And certain things, if you're falling out of it, but you try to hold on, like I've kind of fallen out of something and held on kind of instinctually, like, oh, don't let go of the pole. But if it's pulling your shoulder in a bad direction, it's better to let go.
Yeah, right.
So details like that.
Yeah.
It's not without its risks, but that's what makes it cool.
Have you ever thought about or competed? Because I know they have like the like competitions where you can do, I mean, again, apparently I'm an aficionado, but I've seen the ones where they have like two poles and you can go like between them and then they have all that sort of stuff. So have you ever thought of doing that or done that?
Yeah. Fun fact, they have two because one is on static and one is on spin.
Oh, really?
That's why in a competition setup, you'll always see two poles, which is sort of weird because you're kind of like, there's one dancer on this stage, shouldn't there just be one pole? But that's so that they can show their range by using both. But to answer your question, I've competed probably literally twice, which is actually very little for someone who's been doing it as long as I have. It's just it's not that much fun to me personally. Yeah. I think it's still an art form. It's dancing, so it feels a little weird to like have people watching you with checklists, putting like numbers and check marks and things for.
Oh, that move wasn't perfect. That,
Yeah. So to me, the difference between that and a show, I perform a lot. I don't compete a lot. But doing a show is so joyful compared to that. If I could be in a theater or a bar with a crowd full of like happy, maybe drunk people screaming their heads off, that is so much more fun than a competition, to me at least. So yeah, shows over competitions any day is my stance on that.
And you're part of I think it's called Chrome Cabaret.
Yeah.
With two others. So and those are do you do a lot of shows as like a three what do they call it? Like not a three-peat, but a thruple.
A trio.
A trio.
It'd be a thruple, I think, if we were romantically involved.
Okay. I take it that's not a part of it.
No.
Okay.
But yeah, my pole trio, Chrome Cabaret, it's me, two other dancers, and we have a choreographer.
Oh, very cool.
Which is, it's so nice, and I feel like it really gives us this great edge when we perform. The feedback that we usually get from people in the community is like, wow, that's so polished. It looks so like well put together. And it's because when we rehearse, we have someone watching us each time, telling us where we're not in sync, what we can do better, which is a luxury that most pole soloists, or there's a lot of like duets too, and they have to take a video each time and watch the video, or like watch in the mirror, all things that like are a little bit challenging. But we have a brilliant, Callie is her name, brilliant choreographer who's not only like coming up with these cool concepts, but watching how it all comes together and giving us that like outside view of like, how does this actually look?
And you guys, where do you perform mostly? Like just events, bars, clubs, kind of sounds like?
Yeah, usually events. The one we did this week was for a Valentine's show at the Belmont. So SNS Productions, they do shows at the Belmont a few times a year. So we've performed with them quite a bit. It's a great stage. And yeah, just whatever other local shows are going on. We do, yeah, probably a handful per year because we take it very seriously and spend like 2 or 3 months
Oh,
working to
wow.
prepare one routine.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do you guys do like, is there such a thing as like tandem where you're like two on one pole, or is that a thing?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We try to have, at least for at some point or points in any routine, to have all three of us on one
Oh,
pole,
wow.
which is difficult to do, especially because poles can be all different heights based on the venue. So we might be on a stage pole, is what we call it, the one that's portable that you can break into a dozen pieces and kind of assemble anywhere you want. Those are common at a lot of events too, because most event spaces either can't support or don't have the means to have a pole that's like attached to the floor and the ceiling. But even if they do, it could be 9 feet, it could be 12 feet, it could be whatever. So there's a lot of girl math in figuring out how do we get 3 dancers on one pole safely.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Wow. And like how like I'm sure you guys have had kind of like close calls and like accidents on that, like all three of you on the pole. I mean, I can imagine
Yes.
that gets pretty
Yeah,
kind of hairy.
I've kicked someone in the face. I've had my toes stepped on with high heels so many times. We run into each other. We fall off. We slip off. We crush each other's hands. Like, we're good friends.
Yeah.
But that's just part of the game. Yeah, it's a contact sport.
Full contact. Heck yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. Now, do you have a setup at home, or like where do you mainly practice?
Yeah, so I do have a pole set up in my house,
Nice.
which I love, because I primarily teach choreography. So it does take a lot of time to actually come up with the routines. So having one at home is really nice because when I have a spare moment, I can be creating at home versus going into the studio. But other than that, yeah, we work out of the studio. SoFi is really great in giving us like time to rent it out and work on stuff.
Yeah, that looks like a really nice studio from the videos I've seen. It looks.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I can definitely talk about burlesque too.
So, what is burlesque? How is that different from pole dancing? Like, what is that?
Yeah, so in burlesque, you don't need any type of like apparatus. It can be just the dancer on stage, but the defining feature is the striptease. So for a burlesque act, pretty much always you're going to have some kind of artful, stylized removal of clothing. There are like accessories that are really key to a lot of burlesque dances. So like a feather boa or a feather fan. Yeah, so different like kind of accessories, but generally it's just it's striptease. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Which one's more fun?
Pole dancing.
Yeah. Obviously.
I love them both. But it's fun. There's a lot that you can do on a pole, and you can still have like a fusion of the two. Like burlesque pole is its own whole thing where you can be kind of integrating stripping with pole dancing, maybe even at the same time. So it's fun. They interact very well together. I think having a burlesque background helps in my pole dancing too, because burlesque is so much about like the showmanship, the presentation, the attitude. So it kind of, you could be doing all kinds of crazy tricks on the pole and it would still be really impressive. But I think what people love to see in a performance is someone who is like telling a story or communicating a theme, at a minimum showing a personality, a character, really connecting with the audience. And I think burlesque teaches you how to do that.
Yeah. Kind of the whole performance kind of thing.
Yes.
The whole like, yeah. Okay. Interesting. That's cool. Yeah. So does this have any, like, do you think this has any effect on like dating? Like, I mean, are you single or what? Like,
I'm married.
okay. Okay. How long?
5 years.
Right on.
Yeah. I mean, this is apropos of the topic, but I don't wear a ring all the time because when you pole dance, you can't wear rings.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it messes up the pole and it's like dangerous. You could, yeah, like hurt yourself doing that.
Yeah. I imagine.
But yeah, he's really supportive of it, which is incredible. Like, that might be a deal breaker if they were like me or pole dancing and and modeling and dancing and all those things that I love. So I'm really grateful that he's supportive of that. And it's just like, do you?
Yeah, that's awesome. Where'd you guys meet?
Oh, this makes me sound so old. Are you ready? MySpace.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. That is awesome.
Yeah.
So what do you do? He just slid in or what's going on?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Really? What, tell me, what was the message? What does this page look like? What was going on?
Oh, I don't really remember.
I remember MySpace having all the like music that played when you got there and like all that other custom crap. Like,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, he wasn't like completely out of the blue. Like, we knew some people in common, so there was that. But I like to say that we only like got together and started dating many, many years later. But since that's how we first met, I like to
gotcha.
I like to drop the MySpace fun
awesome.
fact.
That's awesome. So he slides in, friends first, then dating, then that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you had mutual friends first, sounds like.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. MySpace, the good old days. Yeah.
Yeah, so I won't have any fun dating stories. I'm out of the rat race.
Scratch that off my list. It's a whole category gone.
Whole category.
Just yeah.
Yeah.
No material there. No, that's great. Where do you two have any kids?
No.
No? What's like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do with modeling and pole dancing, like long term? Like, do you want to like, I don't know, you want to be like published, big magazines, like more paid stuff, or is it just like a fun like side hobby?
It's fun. I think of it as a creative outlet. That's why I do try to like prioritize projects that I feel really excited about, that I can like have a hand in. So yeah, it's a good time. But yeah, I think I was kind of talking earlier today to the photographer who was leading the workshop that I was modeling at, that I could see myself transitioning eventually into like shoot styling and pose coaching, because those are things that I feel strongly about, and I feel like I've gotten a lot of experience in how that goes. So yeah, maybe one day part-time at a boudoir studio, picking out the clothes, setting the scene, helping models, and just
you could assist a photographer, basically, kind of like come and like, you know, like help the model pose while, you know, they shoot, kind of thing, or like,
well,
or like hair and makeup, or just style, just posing.
Yeah. I feel like, You can probably speak to this too, but as a photographer, you have to do a lot of jobs too that you wouldn't have to on like a big production. When it is kind of a scrappy one-on-one situation, you're figuring out how to lay things out. Maybe the model brought a bunch of outfits and is like, which one? And you're like, I gotta I gotta pick this too. And depending if you're working with models, you don't have to do a ton of pose coaching. But if you are, say, a boudoir or portrait photographer working with average people, that's such a huge thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm sure you've had
definitely.
experiences with, there's a range of, models that you don't really need to direct at all. And people who, they need ideas, they need help with what is going to look natural, good, flattering, that they're going to like the end product of. So I think those things they're luxuries on a shoot, but I think that's where I've really developed a skill set. So I like doing that. I could see myself doing that in some capacity as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely, there's such a wide range of, every model's so different.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, like sometimes I just feel like I'm just like a robot just clicking as they like move around. I'm just like, oh, this is all good. I can use like every single one. And then other times it's not, it's just, it's kind of like more of a back and forth working with each other, like taking a picture, seeing what works, moving around, giving that good, like positive feedback to kind of move in a direction where we're both like in sync. So yeah. So you're like the director of photography or something at a shoot.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to do photography. I just want to direct it.
Yeah. Good idea. Good idea. It's a lot cheaper.
There's a lot of buttons on cameras. I'm not interested.
Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice. And I think a lot of photographers, that's its own skill, aside from setting up the photo and capturing what you see in front of you the way you want to capture it. There's a human being in front of you, not a mannequin, that you have to figure out how to help them feel at ease, help them feel confident, and get to that middle ground between maybe what they want to do and what you want to do, figure out what's going to work best for the shot.
Some of the online courses I've taken actually focus more on that side of it than they do on the actual like settings and stuff. Like once you get the settings down and you kind of get an idea of what you need to change to get what the look is, the entire rest of it is like, how do you actually develop a brand that people want to come shoot for? How do you actually reach out to models? How do you actually pose a model? How do you not like violate some sort of boundary and like not, be able to shoot ever again kind of thing? Like, cause that's important. So, so yeah, that's something that's definitely overlooked for sure. How do you like to be directed?
I like to be turned loose.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I can, I've been doing this a little while. If I can have the freedom to just move around, flow through poses, that's where I'm having the most fun. But of course, I like some direction. If the photographer is like silent and giving no feedback, I'm like, this could be good or bad. And of course, like if you're seeing something and you're like, okay, hold that for longer. I'm going to get it from here and there. Adjust this one thing.
Yeah.
I love hearing that because I know like, okay, we found something good.
Something good's going on.
And now we're going to tweak it till it's just right. So I love that. I love a little direction. In most cases, I can't see myself. So if like my hair is stuck to my lip gloss or I'm like trying to do something that looks whack, like please tell me.
I have a model that brings her own mirror, and I think it's the best idea ever. And she can set it up and lean it against my light stand or something else. And I'm like, oh man, that's such a good idea. I should get one of those and bring it. Because she's doing the exact same thing, posing, looking at herself in the mirror, then looking back up the camera or away or whatever. And that seems to work really well.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Because sometimes I just like count myself lucky when like the room just has a mirror in it or something.
Or
Or
like a
like,
window or something.
yeah, because it does help. And then, yeah, I think photographers, some have a different cadence where they want to like show you every few pictures, like here's what it's looking like. And some people who like would not show me the back of their camera at all unless I was curious and asked.
Do you like seeing the pictures as you go?
A little bit, yeah. I think it's helpful because something can feel good in your body, but then you look at it on screen and you're like, that's, that doesn't look quite the way I thought it would. So it is really helpful. And I think having a dancer background too helps me a lot as a model for just like general body awareness, flexibility a little bit to some extent, but just like having that play into how I can move while modeling, I think has really helped me out a lot. But yeah, I think the opposite end of the spectrum with pose coaching, when someone is like directing every move, is a little bit, it like takes a little bit of the fun out of it for experienced models at least. Again, it all depends on kind of like the matchup of the two people collaborating. Some people might really want like pose me like a marionette, like just put me where you want.
Just a robot.
But yeah, I feel like to me that can be kind of brutal if I'm like holding something and they're like, okay, turn 45 degrees that way, tilt, eyes down, bend your hands. Now look up, smile a little. Like, it's so much. It's like, well, this is not, I'm not a Barbie doll. I'm here to move around and create something that feels like myself.
Yeah. That sounds very commercial, very calculated kind of thing.
Yes. And, sometimes it's necessary if I'm totally on board when a photographer is like, here's like this 1 or 3 shots that I just know I want. They have it in their head, or maybe they have a reference photo and they're like, we got to get this. I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's nitpick each angle. Let's get what we're looking for. So there's a time and a place, but not every shot.
Yeah. Yeah. I would think that would get pretty old pretty quick. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Unless you're getting paid a lot.
Yeah. Things get old less quick.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Let's outro this thing.
Okay.
Unless you got anything else you want to talk about? Oh, we didn't cover the election.
Ooh, yeah.
Who do you think's going to win the 2024 election?
Not the American people.
Truth. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast, Cherry.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
I am at Cherry Sinatra on Instagram. That's where you'll primarily find me.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Oh, that's good.
Yay!
That was fun.
We did it.
Like episode 5 in the bucket, I guess.
Yeah.